Hey everybody, it's Jeff. It's been about a week since I've been able to do a video like this. I did the 89 upper deck break while I was in Florida. I was there for a week due to some, I had to have some medical tests done. But I'm back now and wanted to talk about something, but I wanted to give a quick update on something real fast. I know right now I think my total subscribers is almost at 1,000, and that's great, and that's when everybody really gets excited and stuff. And the reason why I'm not as excited as a lot of people is because I can understand why mine was going up so fast. It didn't make sense to me, so I actually contacted YouTube. I know most people would not even want to even get YouTube involved, but it just didn't make sense to me. And the reason being was because I get the subscribers, but the number of views isn't where it looks to me like it should be with a lot of the videos. And what I found out was it was basically two videos. I'm not sure what the other one is, but the one I kind of understand because it's the same one that I've been getting the most positive comments about and asked to be doing more kinds of those videos. And that was the one where I explained how to tell the difference between a real 52 Mickey Mantle and a counterfeit one. Well, so I'm trying to, the good news is once I hit 1,000, I can do live streams, which like I told you all before, I haven't done live streams because I couldn't figure out, I couldn't ever get into the apps to work. So I'm hoping that once I can get 1,000 subscribers, at least I can do that. And then, when I get, I want the local people, the local community, they're the ones, you all are the ones that, really matter to me. It's not somebody that just saw one video and just happened to subscribe. That really is important to me. And so once, I can get, good interaction and stuff, I will, do a good giveaway for the 1,000 subscribers and that kind of thing. And I've got all kinds of cards I'd like to give away because, to be honest with you, a lot of them I just need to get rid of. But what I'm here for, and this is my opinion, I will say that, I have, having a legal background, I did do the research that I needed to do to, make sure that I was speaking right as much as clearly and as accurately as what I felt like I could on this issue. And that is the big scandal right now with PSA and PWCC. But before I start, I want to say that before the end of this video, even though the majority of it will be about PSA and PWCC, Beckett is not innocent in all this. They have had some serious accusations leveled against them as well. And I'll explain that in a little bit, even though it's not in as much detail because not as information is out about it. Because to be truthful, it hasn't really made the mainstream media part yet, and the court filings as far as like the lawsuits and the affidavits and that kind of stuff, I can't find those kind of things for Beckett the way that they are on PSA. So that makes it a lot harder to be able to get really up-to-date information. But I'll tell you the best that I can after we talk about the PSA and PWCC one, which I think most people are interested in anyway because I know most people use PSA to grade the cards. Okay. Getting all the, as they say, legalese out of the way. Okay. Kind of backing up for most people that may not know, and we'll start from the beginning. The accusation is that PWCC is having PSA give them higher grades than what they would normally give, like you or me, if we send in the exact same card as PWCC is. From the information that I'm getting, that's really not the case. That's not really what the issue is. it's more complicated than that. He's not the only one, but primarily the main culprit as far as what they refer to as card doctor, who, alters cards, is a card dealer in New York by the name of Gary Mosier. And what he allegedly is doing, and everybody's innocent until proven guilty if they're ever brought up on any charges. So these are just nothing but allegations at this point. But what the allegations are is that, like, for instance, he allegedly bought a card from a PWCC auction. It was a vintage card for $81. He broke it out of the PSA case. He did the doctoring work on the card, made it look considerably better, and then resubmitted it to PSA, got a much better grade, put it back into another PWCC auction, and sold the exact same card for $1,000. And the allegations are that he's done this so many times that he's made at least $200,000 off of it. So, this isn't like a little bit of money. However, one of the false, at least for what I'm finding, false narratives that's getting tossed around out there is that PSA is themselves like doctoring the cards or in cahoots with PWCC to the point where they know the cards are doctored and they're giving them a higher grade. Now, I'm not saying that may not be true, but I want to try to explain a little bit about how we get to that point, or how they're getting to that allegation. PWCC gets these cards, of course, on consignment, and they are accused of PWCC is accused of two major serious violations of the trust of the people who purchase cards from them. The first one is that, and this has been proven because they do have text messages from one of the consigners that they were selling a card for. He kept the text message where it asked him to what they call shield bid. And what a shield bid is where, and to be honest with you, I'm sure that this happens with people selling their cards on eBay sometimes, but it's basically when you take a fake fake account, and you bid on a card to increase the bidding price. And PWCC is accused of, with working with this Mosier, in over $200,000 worth of cards, allowing him to shield bid these cards up to really ridiculously high prices, and they show it as it's a completed sale, but they don't actually make him pay for the card. And so whenever you go into the listing under that card to see what that card has sold for, it shows, say, a card sold for $30,000, that you can go on other places on eBay and find the exact same card, the exact same grade from PSA, sometimes for, say, $3,000. And it really never made any sense. But what it does do is, once people see that cards are graded that high and that expensive, then they're more willing to fork out that kind of serious money for the next card, thinking that that's the only way that they'll get it, and that it's worth that much. And most cards that, especially vintage cards that go up that high, usually don't go down in value because they're graded, they're encased, they can't really get damaged unless, you would actually break the case, damaging the card that way or somehow. So that's one of the things that the PWCC is being accused of doing, is shield bidding their auctions to get the prices up. In fact, working directly with consigners on their own cards to get them to bid on their own cards to get the price up, and then if they win the auction, then basically PWCC just closes it as a regular auction one, but yet there's no money exchanged. So that's where the fraud part comes in at. Okay. The reason why this is such a big deal with the FBI is because, as you know, basically the only way, unless you like find them at a card show at like the National or something, the only way you can get a card graded is by mailing it in. Well, that's also the same way that you pretty much get your cards when you win them from PWCC on eBay, is they mail them to you. Well, anytime that you use the U.S. Postal Service, if fraud is involved, it's mail fraud. That is a federal crime, and it's a very serious federal crime, to the point where, you know, that is one of the things that has brought down some of, you know, the biggest crime bosses throughout history, you know, is tax evasion and mail fraud. And, you know, so not only are they looking at a huge fine, they could, if they're convicted, they could be looking at serious prison time for this. The other thing that PWCC is alleged to have done is they have been contacted with proof from some people that the cards that they have for sale currently, I'm not saying currently as in right now, but I'm talking about at the time that they were contacted by the person, they had absolute proof that the card that they were selling at that time on eBay had been altered in a very noticeable way that greatly destroyed the value of the card, because, as you know, a PSA 1 is worth more than an altered card in the hobby. So they were contacted and told and given proof that some of these cards were doctored. And not only did PWCC refuse to end the auction with eBay, but they did not even put any kind of disclaimer or disclosure about the alleged doctoring on the listing while it was still on eBay. And so those are the two major things that PWCC has been accused of. And they're saying that primarily it's this Mosier out of New York, card dealer out of New York, that they've been working with to do these doctoring cases. Okay. How PSA gets involved in is this. The question for PSA really isn't, you know, is PSA doctoring cards? I haven't found any information that says that PSA has intentionally doctored a card themselves. Where the question is coming in at is PSA is supposed to be the very best in the business as far as third-party vendor grading. So the question is, how are all these PWCC cards that are altered and doctored getting through PSA's grading process and actually receiving a grade instead of being kicked out as being doctored or altered or whatever? And a lot of people believe that there is some kind of an agreement, you know, whether it's, you know, I doubt it's on a piece of paper anywhere. Most people wouldn't be that crazy, but there must be some kind of understanding between PSA and PWCC that gets these cards graded, because nobody really believes that PSA, doing this as long as they have, could be missing the number of cards that they're finding are being doctored. And so that's where the FBI started the investigation at, and it got them involved, it got PWCC involved, it got at least Mosier involved, and a couple other dealers. And it's, you know, it's very serious. Now, PSA is actually owned by a parent company called Collectors Club. In fact, if you belong to their One, their club that you get your little newsletter and paid arena membership. I'm pretty sure that that's what it's actually called. It's Collectors Club. But the CEO allegedly of Collectors Club recently sold 15% of his stock in Collectors Club, which is really unheard of unless they believe that there's trouble on the horizon, that they think that basically the stock is going to take a major hit. And so when that happened, it really raised some eyebrows. There's a lot of different videos. Just mine's nowhere close to being the best. This is me just giving my 2 cents worth, so to speak, for people who might have questions about it, because of all the videos that I've done, the one that I did about telling the difference between a real mantle and a fake mantle not only was the biggest one that got recommended, looks like helped me get the most subscribers, but it's also the one I got the most positive comments about, I got the most views for, I got the most comments on, and so I thought, I'd try to do another video that I thought might help people, because I knew that this was a big question for a lot of people. Okay, that's pretty much all I could really find out without getting into speculation that I don't feel comfortable with doing past that, because everything that I've said up to this point has kind of like been brought out in the papers talking about the investigation, as far as Washington Post did an article on it, that type of thing. So I haven't said anything that isn't like already out there. Some of the other issues that I found aren't, and so I don't feel comfortable talking about those at this point, because it would just be nothing but pure hearsay at this point. And without those allegations being public, I just don't feel comfortable talking about anything else other than that. That's pretty much where we're at. But I'm not saying that a person shouldn't use PSA, except for one part that I know does need to be talked about. PSA is gunshot right now because of the investigation. And what I mean by that is they are sending back cards as questionable authentic, or questionable authenticity, however they put it, that they should absolutely know really couldn't possibly be fake. And what I mean by that is they had a case where one of the Ronald Acuna Jr. bat down cards, rookie cards, which is one the most popular from last year in 2018, the Series 2 or update or whenever it came out, came back as questionable authentic. And not only did the person pull it out of a pack, the person that they did the article about and was talking about happened to pull the pack out when they were doing it live on YouTube. So they had absolute proof that it was legit and that they had done it. But when they sent it to be graded, that's the way it came back, and it kind of shows that PSA is afraid to pretty much grade just about anything that they think that may be fake and it gets through because of this investigation. But what they need to realize is nobody expects them to be 100% accurate. As far as you're never going to be able to catch all the fakes. I don't care how good you are. Not when you're dealing with the number of cards that they deal with. That would be just virtually impossible to expect that. And you're never going to get it right all the time that you send back cards that are real that you try to say that you think are fake. That happens as well. But the fact that a 2018 card of Acuna Jr. that's not an autograph or anything like that, to my knowledge, I've never even heard of anybody talking about there being a fake card of that at this point. It's not like it's a 2011 update Mike Trout. And so I think people are more upset because they think common sense should play a part. That, PSA should know that there's not a real high probability that that would be a fake card. And so it's sort of like they are going from one extreme to the other. And definitely is because, with this investigation, they're being far more cautious than they were. So I know that, a lot of people are still sending their cards, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't. And I know PSA is really, really trying to do the best job that they possibly can right now because of all this mess to get the customers' confidence and trust back. And so I know I would, you know, no. Would I send in my 52 manual to them? No. But that's not because of, I think that they would have a higher, even though they probably would have a higher chance of trying to tell me what was fake right now with everything going on. It's more the fact that I would be afraid that they, I would be afraid that the card will get switched in the mail or, something like that than I would a problem with PSA. I wouldn't do that with any card that was worth, thousands of dollars, regardless which one it was. I just, unless I could physically hand that card to them at the card show and they could physically hand it back to me after it's graded, that's the reason why I don't look at grading my really expensive cards. Because, for one thing, the price for them is just outrageous. And the other thing is, say, for instance, they do, I think when I checked into, hypothetically, if I would have got the manual graded, it was going to be $5,000 to get it graded. Well, that's ridiculous to me because I know mine would probably only get a PSA 1 anyway. And so, I would I'd be paying almost as much as I would sell it for. So that wouldn't make any sense. But what really is a problem is, say I did that and then it did come back as questionable authentic, I would still have to pay them the $5,000, and my card still not graded, even though I know it's real because of the situation, how I got it. But they don't know that, and so if they would come back and send it back as questionable authentic, they're still going to charge me the $5,000 just like they would if they actually graded it. And so that makes it really iffy about putting really expensive cards in there. Now, as far as like, the cards that are worth, probably less than $1,000, yeah, those aren't that expensive to grade, and I would probably still do that. But anything over $1,000 for value, I would probably be leery right now. For me, I'm speaking about me personally. I would be leery about sending those type of cards in at this point. Now, getting into the Beckett situation. Beckett is being questioned because they are having certain individuals that, like the individual that they spoke the most of, he had sent in, I believe they said 9,000 cards, and 13% of those cards came back as a Beckett Black. If you're not familiar with what a Beckett Black means, not only is it a perfect 10 gem mint, it's a perfect 10 gem mint in all subcategories. And they said that the chances of anybody getting 13% of the cards that they send to them, even if they're new, to get perfect 10s, not only for the overall, but for all the subcategories being 10 gem mint, they said were astronomical to the point of hitting the lottery. So it's not just a PSA issue that we're dealing with here. This is a problem that the hobby is unfortunately dealing with as a whole. And it really depends on the individual person as to how much they want to put their trust in any of them right now. I will be honest. I did not even look at SGC to see if there was any kind of problem with them. I have not heard of any problems with SGC, but I did not look either because I knew that the two largest was PSA and Beckett. So those were and I knew PSA was the one that everybody had been talking about. But SGC, I'm sure, probably has had some issues too, but nothing that I had a chance to look into. But they also don't have the reputation as far as resale that PSA has and Beckett has. Even though they're completely trusted as a grading authority, but at one time they weren't. SGC at one time was not considered a reputable company until they proved that they were. And so a lot of things happen, and change with the hobby, and that's the way it should be. It needs to evolve. But basically, I wanted to make this video so that I know it's not going to answer all the questions that people have. I don't even have the answers, all the answers that people have. I don't even have all the answers to all the questions I have. But I did want to at least bring it out, so that people could realize that, if it was going to affect them. And in my personal opinion, unless your card is worth over $1,000, I don't think that it really is going to affect you, unless you would be one of the unfortunate people that PSA would happen to send your card back and say that it's questionable authentic, when it's not, because they're being overly cautious. But I can say that that hasn't happened as far as the more recent cards. In very many cases, it's just been a handful of cases, and the Kuna Jr. was just the most talked about. So, basically, in conclusion of the video, until the FBI has a chance to come out and say exactly what they think that PSA did or didn't do, and PWCC did or didn't do, then, it's kind of a wait and see kind of game at this point. But I absolutely would not stop sending in my cards to be graded to PSA or Beckett at this point, just because of this controversy. It's just one of those things that it's sad for the hobby. It's sad that, for PSA and Beckett, because, the reputation's taking a hit, especially PSA. But if they did do anything, that was not above board, then I don't feel sorry for them, because at that point they brought it on themselves. So, but anyways, thank you all for the support. I do really appreciate being close to 1,000 subscribers, even though, even though I don't, like I said, even though they explained to me how it happened, I would rather have, 150 of the close, we grow together group, community in here, and, in a discussion, than having 5,000 people that, don't know anything about us or our community or how we, try to help each other out. So that's the way I would like to see go. I would just like to see the people that, I see every, in other people's live streams, which I understand can't see them my live streams because I haven't had any, but, those people that I got to know through the live streams, and, those people showing up on my channel, making comments, and when I start doing live streams and seeing them, that's when I'll be thrilled. That's what I want to see with my channel. I should be able to do live streams once I hit 1,000 subscribers, and I think I'm at 950 now. And it seems to go about 2 a day. So, going by that math, and I should have it probably in about a month. But I do really appreciate all the support that I've had so far. Like I said, I haven't had too many breaks, but none of the breaks that I've had, I've had people interested in all of those. And I am going to be doing the 1990 Topps wax box break. Looking for the Frank Thomas No Name sometime this week. So that's not the one with the cello packs that had from the same case that I found the No Name, though. That's going to be after, I figure out what's going on with this 1,000 subscriber stuff. But thank you for watching. I hope this was informational and helpful. If there's more if you got questions about things like this that you'd like for me to do the research on and, make more videos about, by all means, let me know. I'll be more than happy to try and do the best I can. So, thank you, and see you in the next video.